Hello, thank you for tuning into this telecast. This is the Diaspora Panel, the voice of the diaspora. I have with me, as always, I have Mr. Ola Lawal, who is based in Canada. Mr. Lawal, you are welcome to today's meeting.
Thank you for having me.
Again, I want to say a big thank you for listening to this telecast. If this is your first time of seeing any of our telecasts, please subscribe. It means that anytime we do the next video, you'll be one of the first people to know about it. And if you've been looking at our video but you've never subscribed, please hit that subscription button, and it just means that you will never miss any of our next video. If you have any news to give us, or you want to contact us by any means, please send your emails to info@diasporapanel.com. My name, by the way, is Dejolaya, and I'm based in Ireland. Today, we are going to discuss a couple of things relating to the corruption fight by Mr. President in the last few weeks. We've seen, the fight against corruption taken headlong by President Bola Tinubu. Right now, one minister has been suspended and is being investigated by the EFCC. And from what we understand, this probe, has been yielding result. We've been hearing a lot of things on the social media about who are connected. To this end, the president has suspended the school feeding program, conditional cash transfer, Empower, and all those humanitarian, humanitarian interventions, just for the EFCC to conclude the investigation so that we could actually know what has been going on in that ministry in the last 8 years. So, Shupo, what do you, if looking at what has been happening in the last 1 week, because this is, nobody expects the president to fight against Tinubu. The president to fight against corruption. In fact, a lot of people think that Tinubu himself, is Mr. Corruption, and nobody expecting. So people are thinking, it looks like we all got it wrong. This man is actually fighting corruption. So what is your impression so far about this fight against corruption? Shukla.
Right. So thank you so much for having me today. I think there seems to be a fight against corruption. I use the word seems because until the current activities, events, and recent decisions actually turns out, yields the right results. The right results meaning money that was stolen, is confiscated, and officials who are responsible are actually brought to account. Yes, that is when we can wholeheartedly say that there is a genuine fight against corruption. If I look back at a lot of things that have happened in Nigeria, I think my experience personally is governments are quick to investigate, and then you hear nothing. So there were scenarios, for example, where foreign governments shared intelligence information with the Nigerian government before the Tinubu administration on potential suspected people who, based on financial transactions, were perceived to have been profiting from terrorism. Nothing happened. We didn't even get the names of those people. So I think the current decisions are laudable, but personally, I think I'm still waiting to see the actual results.
Thank you very much. So my fear really is not whether the ongoing investigations going on is going to produce result. I am very confident with the way and manner in which the president has swiftly moved in to checkmate, this festering corruption, especially in the humanitarian ministry. And for the first time, We saw a case where there was a leaked memo which got onto the social media, and we saw a president that moved in lightning speed, quick, and acted. And the EFCC was on it, and I'm not really, I'm not a pessimist. I believe that we have somebody in the EFCC, I think his name is Olukayode, who, from his body language, is going to do, what he's been assigned to do. My fear now is that we have a power cabal in Nigeria, because I now understood, from what I understand is that the EFCC has now opened the files of a lot of about 10 former governors and ministers and people who have shortchanged Nigerians, who have embezzled money. They are now profiling these cases, and they are going to contact these people, and they're going to revisit them and bring them to justice. So when you have a full house of power cabal, people who have stolen money, we're even talking about people who have stolen money for as long as about 30, 20 years ago. And the president is now trying, because we are actually not in the best of times in Nigeria. We are at a crossroad where we need the finances. We need this money to prosecute our budget. Nigeria is no longer the rich place where, so this money will become very handy. And the president, as an accountant himself, he know the value of, getting this money together so that we can use it for developmental purposes. Now, do you think that President Tinubu should be very careful, because he is fighting against a cabal that have entrenched themselves in the last 30 years? Do you think he should be on his guard as he continue to prosecute, these cabals?
Yeah, so again, I would say let's wait and see what happens, because it's not that in Nigeria there weren't investigations in the past. I think you alluded to EFCC reopening the files of some former governors. Well, that definitely shows that there were investigations that was done in the past, and nothing came of it. I think you are quite right. Once this gets to the level where there are prosecutions, where illegally stolen funds is being repatriated, that is where the rubber will meet the road, and likely it will become a do or die affair. I think I will agree that in that scenario, everybody, not only the president, but I think everybody involved at different stages in the administration, would need to definitely watch their backs. I think Nigerians may not understand the depth of corruption. Corruption in Nigeria is at different levels. When you look at the state level, you have governors who, are chief executive officers of their states, who are given security budgets, most who don't really account for how that money is spent. For decades. This practice has continued. At the federal level, you have federal ministers. We just saw an example of what's been happening in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, where government programs that are supposed to alleviate poverty, at least, help, families that are, below the poverty line, being not only misappropriated, but, frankly, quite honestly, embezzled. So, that's another layer. And then you have another layer, which is in terms of natural resources, where oil, for example, is being stolen, and so the corruption is massive, and it's at different levels. And everybody is, to me, it just seems to be taking, their own cuts, so to speak, of what Nigerians will refer to as the national cake. Well, if everybody takes their own cut of the national cake, there will be no cake left for Nigeria. So, to answer your question, I think this is going to get hotter, especially once we begin to see people being taken to court, people being convicted, funds being repatriated. That is when the heat will come up. And as the investigation continues, we are likely to also see people, whom we love and adore, who have engaged in practices that, quite frankly, are, nothing, to write home about, also brought to the limelight. So I think Nigerians should hold fast. There would be a lot happening, or I would say that there's a lot is going to happen. Let's wait and see where this all ends up.
Yeah. So because I had the opportunity to listen to a video released by Professor Wole Soyinka about a few days ago, and it was cautioning. It was cautioning. It was saying, there's this case of the Minister of Power about maybe 20 years ago, Oluwagunloye, who has been fingered in a $6 billion scam from Mambila Plateau. So now he has now been rearrested and he's being prosecuted, being brought to court. And I think he's been granted bail now. He was sent to prison, but now granted bail. And the professor was saying that this is the same issue in which that claimed the life of Bola Ige. Then this is the same issue. And he is saying that those who killed Bola Ige are connected to this scheme we are now arresting Agunleye for. And that Agunleye is the only, witness that is a vital witness to what transpired in the death of Bola Ige and in that ministry. So these are the kind of people that Tinubu is going to be up against. And because corruption in Nigeria is endemic. If you look in the ministry itself, in the armed forces, there are issues where money allocated to the armed forces. Some generals are taking the money to go and buying houses in Abuja. The money doesn't actually get to be used to procure arms. They just share the money. If you go into the Niger Delta today, there are people who are siphoning our fuel. Some of them are emirs, they are kings and obas, obese. Some of them are military generals. Some of them are highly influential, rich people that are connected. You go to the banks, the bank managers, they have their own hegemony there, where they use the money. You see what happened with Emefiele, that he was using public money to acquire banks. You go to the states, you find the state governors sitting down on, recently we saw somebody who came on this on the TV that the president actually gave them about maybe trailers of rice to distribute to the people. But the governor sat on it. The House of Rep members, they all sat on it. They didn't give it out. Go to the local governments. You see a lot of crimes that are being committed. So look at the universities. We are now see a situation whereby people will go to Benin Republic, they will go and procure certificates. People are even they are even fake professors in universities. So there are cabals everywhere. So if you are a president and you have decided to take this along, you have to take them over, head on. Do you think the president should be very, very careful? He should tread carefully.
Yeah, I always say something that sometimes I don't think Nigerians really understand what they are asking for. Because if you are asking for a better country, it means a lot of things. First and foremost, it means elected officials will become accountable. It means, average Nigerians, would have to work hard for their money. There's no free money flowing anywhere. The reason, when you attend, you see videos, for example, on YouTube, where people throwing parties and just spraying money, is because a lot of that money is loot from activities that are illegal. But so you cannot have a country that is working where the average citizen is well catered for, and you still have people spraying all of this money. So I think Nigerians need to understand that you have to choose one. Do you want a country where public officials will continue to loot, and then whoever has the loot will spend lavishly as they want, or a society where everybody will have to work for their money and elected officials are held accountable for how they appropriate public funds? I definitely do agree that corruption is not just going to go down quietly. Corruption will fight back. But I maintain actually now that I don't think President Tinubu has a choice either, because corruption as we see today is the #1 existential threat to the existence of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So it's either you fight corruption and the country survives, or you know what, that really will become the end of that federation.
Thank you very much, Shubo. And one final thing I always want to touch on is that in the last few days, we saw a decision by the president to trim down the size of his entourage when he's traveling abroad and when he's traveling within Nigeria. So I am just thinking, well, while that is a welcome development because it will reduce waste. We saw what happened in the conference that was done, I think, in Dubai or maybe Saudi Arabia, where we were told that about 1,000 people left, for that conference. Well, we were told that most of them left, they went up with their own money. So, but reducing the number of people that travel with the president apparently will bring down the cost of governance because of all the extra codes, everything will be trimmed down. But I am just very careful, because the president this is a time now, if he's fighting corruption, he needs to tighten the security. Because in 1976, we saw an head of state then, Murtala Mohammed, who just thought that, everything is too bogus, and there should be no reason why you should be traveling with so much, lavish entourage. And he cut down everything, to the bare minimum, and was going along, the street of Lagos. I think it was on the second of the third mainline bridge, and he himself with one escort car behind him. It was gone down on the bridge. So, do you think that the president should be careful, even if he's reducing his entourage? He must make sure that his security details are as it is, even if he has to increase them, because right now, the corruption will at some point decide to fight back.
Yeah, so definitely, I think we also need to make a distinction between, the security operatives who would typically go with him when he's traveling abroad, and other government officials and agencies that may be required to to make those types of trips with him. If you do the right, if you have the right processes in place, to get security, intelligence, and all that, I think having the right level of for example, DSS agents that will go with him, it shouldn't be a problem. I think the issue of trimming down delegates, particularly to foreign events, is important, because if we are saying that Nigerians need to tighten their belt, definitely the president and the government of the day needs to lead by example. The climate conference, for example, that was done in the UAE, where there was about 1,000, was quite honestly too many people. There were even reports that a lot of people who went there had nothing to do with climate, with the climate change there. So I think we just have to find the right balance. And I think even at this time is a good time to determine what actually is important to Nigeria's interests right now that the government needs to focus on. It is not every conference or every international gathering that Nigeria needs to attend. I think the Nigerian government should be very, very selective, to determine which of these is important, to Nigeria's interests, and kind of focus more on those. I've watched also several videos, for example, of Senator Oshiomhole questioning, I think it was the Minister of Trade, when they brought their proposed budgets to the Senate, and I think in one of them they had almost about $1 million was allocated for maintaining a trade office in Switzerland. So first and foremost, why do you need to do that? We need to revisit, the way in which we do a lot of things to ensure that we trim the size of government, and we spend in a way that is consistent with not only our revenue, but also in line with what will most serve Nigeria's interests.
Thank you very much, Shupo. So finally, I just want to ask you, I know that you are a supporter of the Labour Party in the last election, and I want to ask you, now all these probes, all these fight against corruption that's going on, is this something you anticipated? Were you surprised by Tinubu's action? And do you think he's doing well at the moment? Is he on course?
Quite frankly, I'm surprised. Excuse me, because my perception originally was that the APC, and the Tinubu government inclusive, would be the epitome of corruption. Clearly, that sentiment has been proven from what we are learning about, how public funds were misappropriated, I think, from the last administration. But I think one thing that seems to be different is that the current APC government is at least making an effort to tackle corruption. There have been reports, for example, of about $275 million found in the account of a 6-year-old, the 6-year-old son of the former personal advisor to President Muhammadu Buhari.
Allegedly,
yes. I mean, that, if confirmed to be true, shows how bad the previous administration was in terms of corruption. So I think that sentiment was accurate. What seems to be different is the fact that the new APC government is not continuing as business as usual. They are actually it seems they're making an effort to try and tackle it. And I will say this, it does not matter what plan the current APC government has. No matter how good that plan is, if corruption is not tackled, that plan will never benefit the Nigerian people. So corruption is really something that needs to be tackled head on for Nigeria to be the country that it ought to be. So I would say in that manner, my perception about the Tinubu administration, or what the Tinubu administration would be, is quite different. But again, I'm saying let's wait and see the outcome of all of these investigative activities, and let's see how much of the stolen money is, will be repatriated, and how many of these officials will be eventually prosecuted.
Thank you very much, Chupo. There have been issues about one of the former ministers of petroleum, who is now based in the United Kingdom, Alison Madueke. And for 8 years, we were expecting Buhari to bring her to justice. We don't know what has happened. She seems to be above everybody. Will you be thinking, will you think that this is something the EFCC should work on, as we want to know what actually happened? Did she actually steal our money? How much did he steal, and how much are we able to get back? Do you think this is something the presidency should work on?
I'm very, very positive with the amount of investigations that we've heard is happening, even dating back to previous administrations. I'm quite optimistic that something is going to be done in that perspective. I think the last administration, the President Bola administration, had quite an abysmal Attorney General, in my opinion. Malami, I think Suleiman was his name. He might, never really did much, in fighting corruption. Even cases where evidence was provided, for example, we don't know what happened to Abba Kyari. I think the last that we heard was, or that I heard personally, was when the Kuje prison where he was being held was attacked by terrorists. Some people were released. I think he was probably one of them, but nothing really happened in his extradition, and a bunch of other things like that. So I think that administration really didn't care. And I can understand now from some of the things that are coming out that the corruption was so massive that it will have been overwhelming for that Attorney General, even if he had the will, to have been able to do much. But again, let us see what comes out from the investigation that the Tinubu administration is doing. I think Nigerians can see very clearly that we have an administration now, at least, that is listening, that is acting, as things are being discovered. And I think based on that, we should expect something positive, hopefully, at the end of it all.
Thank you, Chupo. I think that a lot of people always think, well, this is the same APC government, and that we don't expect much. But the way I see it is that APC is an amalgam of different political parties. So what you saw in the last 8 years of Buhari is a CPC government. What you have now is an Action Congress government. You understand? So even though it's just the same coloration, this is an AP, it's just like, different people in the same bus. But these are completely different government. This is a virtually progressive government. I think that Buhari wanted to, do very well. But I think at some point, there was some ethnic coloration to his government. Some people misled him. And he became, a sitting duck, because there's so many things that went wrong. We now seen the man who said, oh, I'm not corrupt, I'm going to wash everything clean. Now things coming out now shows that there's so much money stolen. Look at how much was found with it, allegedly found with Emefiele. Look at that massive corruption when a sitting central bank governor can come out to say, I want to contest for presidency. It's never happened before. And you allow that to go on. And this man changed the currency. He was printing the money by himself and all sorts of things. And so my advice, Shuk, I'm going to ask you now for your advice for the president, for the current president. My advice for President Tinubu is that Nigerians love what you are doing. This is our expectation, even though we were not expecting that you would do it. A lot of people think that you are not going to be able to fight corruption because you'll be involved in corruption yourself. So I'm not saying you are involved in corruption, but this is the opinion on the street. But now you have proved everybody wrong, and you are doing the right thing. You are, intervening in where if there's anything wrong, you are very quick. You are doing what. So we want you to continue what you are doing, and we don't want you to give in to the cabal, because we know the cabal are going to come for you at some point. We want you to continue to do what you are doing, and that Nigerians are all behind you. So, Shukwa, what is your advice for the president in 1 minute?
Right. So results, and by results I mean not just announcing investigations, but actually prosecuting and repatriating funds will be the first step. I think the second step that I would expect to see, currently, it does not seem to me that the laws that we have in the books in Nigeria are working, or at least are a good disincentive, for people to engage in corrupt activities. I think embezzlement of public funds, I will even put a tag to it of more than maybe 50 million naira, should be punishable by death in Nigeria. Because otherwise, what we will see happening is people will steal so much money. Some of it will be recovered from them. They may stay in jail for a couple of years, and then they go out and enjoy whatever it is that they've been able to keep. So make it, a really serious offense that anybody who engages in corruption resulting, in stealing public funds, basically has signed their own death warrant. Something that is severe enough, I think, would show that he means business, and you only need to bring a few people to to justice for everybody
to step up. Yeah,
kind of get that message and conduct themselves accordingly.
Thank you very much. So we come to the end of today's deliberations, and it's been a nice time with you, Shukwa Lawal, based in Canada. Mr. Lawal, thank you so much for coming to today's meeting.
Thank you for having me.
And to all our viewers, I'm the Jalaya signing off, and we hope to talk to you again next Sunday, 8 o'clock GMT, where we're going to discuss something else about situation in Nigeria. Till then, I wish you a very lovely week. God bless you. Goodbye.